Hey bass anglers, today we're out in the boat shed and we're going to talk today about powering the power poles on your boat. If you've got the hydraulic anchors from Powerpole, they're a power consideration. So how are you going to get those things powered up in your boat system? And we'll talk about how I'm doing that today. I'm not a lithium battery guy yet. It's too expensive and I've got all I can do to get all the gear I've got on my boat. So I'm going to be using some lead acid battery setups in here, and I just wanted to show you what I have and how I'm doing power consideration for my Powerpole hydraulic anchors. So you don't want to be out on the water and have your batteries be dead. And with Powerpole anchor systems, that can happen to you if you're not smart about how you power that thing up. So I think it takes some consideration of how you want to power your system. If you don't want to be independently powering all the different big units in your boat, power pole anchors, all your graphs, all of the accessories and utilities that need power on your boat, the last thing you want to have happen is be dead in the water at the end of the day because you maybe used your power pole 25 times and burned up all your battery charge and now you can't even start your boat. So we're going to talk about how I have set it up to troubleshoot that and maybe to protect a little bit, have a factor of safety, if you will, against having a dead battery when I go to start the boat. So on my boat, I fish out of a Crestliner Fishhawk, a 1750 Fishhawk, and I have batteries in my boat. I have 5 batteries in my boat, and they're all lead acid. I said I didn't have the lithium battery power setups yet just because I can't afford that cost in batteries yet, and I get there's some performance to it. There's some drawbacks as well. So I'm still a lead acid person so far, and this is how I set it up. I've got a house battery and I've got a starting battery. My trolling motor batteries are separate. I have 3 of them in the center of the boat for my Minn Kota Ultrix Quest, and the 36 volts it needs to power that. So I have 3 batteries to set up for that. But then I have a starting battery that I dedicate to 2 things, starting the boat and my Powerpole anchor system. And I'll tell you why I do those together. And then I separate off and I do everything else on a house battery. And in my boat, I'll show you right now, I have 2 locations in the back of my boat. Over here, I've got one jump seat that's got a compartment under it. And on the other side of the live well, I've got another jump seat with a compartment under it, storage compartment under it, and I'm able then to put my starting battery on the one side, and in here I put Powerpole pumps, and I've got a Blue Sea Systems charging system in here as well. And then on the other side of the live well, again, I put the house battery, and that is then connected to my charging system. But what I've got going on in there is I attach only my starting battery to the motor and to the power poles. And the reason I put the power poles on that starting battery is because I want to be able to start my boat first. Got a separate video on how I use my alternator in my Pro XS, Mercury Pro XS, to charge the whole system, both the starting battery first up to a certain voltage, and then it kicks over and charges the house battery. But I'm plugging in my poles to the starting battery because I want the option of starting the boat first, right? I can turn the key on and power the boat up, and then I can pull those poles up. And I'm in no risk of ever being in the situation where my batteries are dead and I can't get my power poles up off the floor of the lake. And that's happened to some people. If you were to put your power poles on your house battery and you don't have a charge maintenance system in your boat, and you use that thing 10, 15, 30 times a day to anchor down on fish or on spots, and then all of a sudden you go to leave and you don't have any power. It's drained your power down to where you don't even have enough to raise the power poles up. So to avoid that, I always put them on the starting battery. And when I leave a spot, when I'm actually leaving the spot, I crank the engine first, power up the boat, then I lift the anchors up, and then I'm using 100% alternator power to raise my poles up. And I don't do that all the time, but most of the time, if I'm not just moving 10 feet and don't want to spook the fish, I'm starting the big engine first, because I'm using the starting battery, and then I'll pull up the anchors second because then I know I'm running off the alternator. And in my charging system with that Blue Sea Systems mini-ATA battery, what it does is the way it's hooked up, I'm charging the starting battery first. That gets to a certain voltage, and then it pops over and then charges my house battery. So my starting battery is always topped off, and it's always going to have power to pull that pole up off the bottom. So it can be important to consider how you've got your power set up in your boat when you don't have a dedicated battery for every single big appliance, if you will, in your boat. And I don't. I've got 5, 3 for the trolling motor, 1 for the starter, and 1 for the house. And when I'm doing that, everything works very well. Never have an issue not being able to power up my Powerpole hydraulic anchors. And I've always got a fresh supply of power then for my house battery. I'm not draining it with another big appliance, right? And that is, those Powerpole anchors take some juice. And if you use them a lot during the course of a day, you know, that can be a draw to your system. So something worth considering. Please ask me any questions if you want. Make sure to take a look at that video on the Blue Sea Systems mini-ATA battery. If you don't have money to spend on a $2,000 charge monitoring system for your boat, and Powerpole makes a great one, the Powerpole charge system, you can still use Blue Sea Systems $200 mini-ATA battery system and utilize your motor's alternator to help keep your system running at the end of a tournament day with full use of everything: pumps, lights, accessories, graphs, you name it, engine, power pole. At the end of the day, I've still got 70% of total charge on my system, both batteries, and full starting battery by using that mini-ATA battery system. So it's worth checking out. But be smart about what you hook your power poles up to, and you'll be happy you did. You won't get stuck out there in some weirdo situation where you're rewiring to get your hydraulic anchors up and on the go. Hope that tip was helpful. Please like and subscribe, and we'll definitely talk to you next time on the water.